Welcome back to the podcast today and today's episode. Today, I welcome back my friend Ashley, who's traveling around the world at the moment. Excited for this conversation.
Mhm.
So, I'm just going to quickly introduce Ashley and then we're going to dive straight into our conversation today. So, Ashley is a miracle worker in remembrance, venturing deeper into the mind, unraveling the stories that hold us back from the light, living by example and walking with others on this journey as well. Currently on a fully inspired journey of deep trust and unwinding. So, Ashley, welcome back. I'm glad we can make this happen and have this conversation today, and excited for
Yeah.
the conversation today. So, yeah, Ashley, be really interesting to hear. Oh, there's a lot I want to touch on today, but first of all, we're really interesting to hear about what is the work you're doing with people at the moment. What is a miracle worker?
Yeah. So really, I mean, it's like a modern day mystic. So we're all actually miracle workers. It's just
Mm,
our remembrance. There's always miracles constantly occurring. And so it's our choice and perception that we do not see them. When we view the world from a place of fear, we miss the miracles constantly occurring. So when I say I'm a miracle worker in remembrance, it's really the unwinding of all the fear and all the stories. Like we're going to talk about how stories keep us stuck,
mm,
that is holding us back from knowing our true potential, who we truly are, which essentially we're filled with miracles. We're all what you would equate to a miracle worker. And so yeah, that's really my path of unwinding. And then the cool thing in that process is I get to be a mirror for others, as I continue to shine my light, and be the lighthouse, then it attracts those that we're kind of meant to walk this journey together. And not that I'm in a higher place or I know more,
mm.
but it's almost like a puzzle piece and we fit together and provide this opportunity for one another to reflect back and forth these moments of forgiveness, to remember truth through one another, through relationship. I mean, connection and relationship is the way in which we remember the truth, because only through that can we forgive and heal. And so currently, I work with people one on one. I have a mastermind, which, I gave it the name Lighthouse, be the lighthouse. But really, the work I do is really clean. I would say it's really, I remove all personal development, and not that personal development is bad, but it's really for people that have spent a lot of time in the personal development world and they're like, there's got to be something more. And so, really, the work that I do with clients, or I allow spirit to do through me, is that of spiritual healing and spiritual work, and the remembrance of the truth of what you really are. And yeah, really remembering the purpose here. Remembering the true purpose is so much grander. It's that of remembering that you are pure love, you are pure light, and that all of these things that we think are necessary are in fact not necessary, which kind of goes into, I know, another topic we want to talk about is like not planning. A healed mind does
Mm,
not plan.
mm. Oh, I love it, Ashley. I love what you said about calling your mastermind like lighthouse, and then being that lighthouse for other people. And it's not, and also what you touched on, which is really, really, I really resonated with, is it's not like adding more to them, or you're in a place of like I know more than you. It's more about bringing out their truth and what's within them, and then
Mhm.
shining that on them, because these fears do come into our lives and sometimes, and yeah, definitely got been through a fair share of my fears, and there's always stuff to work through. But it's beautiful that like coaches like yourself are allowing people to see that within inside themselves, and yeah, being around in the community of like people in the masterminds as well. I want to touch a little
Mhm.
bit on what you said about the personal development and then the spiritual healing side of what you're doing with people, because I've been through a lot of personal development. I know a lot of people I've sort of coached in the past or met have been through a lot of personal development. So, what's this spiritual healing for you? Tell us a little bit more about that and how it may be a bit different to traditional personal development.
Yeah, so I think like personal development is what it says. It's
Mm,
person development. So it's you as an individual, uh, doing what you can to better yourself so that you can appear to have a better experience within, what this world is, which I call the illusion. And so spiritual development really is about the remembrance of the one and remembrance of the truth of what we are deep within that is beyond the illusion. It's like above the battleground. So, I did spirit or personal development for so many years, and many of my clients did. And I think sometimes people get to a point where they've even tried all of that and they're like, okay, this still, I'm not finding what I'm seeking here. Like, there's got to be a different way. And then that's really where a lot of people become, not a lot of people, but individuals become attracted to the spiritual development. They start to get curious about, the connection, the oneness, what else is out there, things like that. And that's really when people tend to step into that phase. I don't want to call it the next. I don't believe in levels
Mm.
of any means, but really it's more, if you think of like micro, meso, macro, it's more of like the large, like the cosmos and everything. It's not about manipulating the illusion. It's not about the secret or manifesting or anything that like that. It's about actually like shedding from all of that, which is not super appealing to many people. One of my mentors says, if you want to make money, don't sell this, which is A Course in Miracles. That's the book I use to unwind my mind as a mind training. Sell the secret, because people want things. They want to make a better illusion. And it takes a lot of attempting to fulfill your happiness through money and relationships or cars or, the way your body looks, the aging right now. That's a huge piece in the world, is like biohacking and like
Mm.
slowing down our aging process, because that really shows our greatest fear, which is the fear of death, because we believe we can die. So aging is a reminder that you believe you can die. Where I'm talking about is realizing that who you truly are does not die. Like, you are not your body. You are beyond your body. So I don't know. I don't know if that made complete sense or not. It's kind of hard to explain. It's one of those
Mm.
things you just kind of flow into. You feel unfulfilled still. And I know when we first met, I was deep into personal development and deep into really manifesting and making money and all the very worldly things to fulfill my happiness. And, I had amazing friends and I was traveling the world first class. And to the outside world, it would have appeared that I had everything. But inside, I was still so unfulfilled. And like in a matter of seconds, I almost lost it all. Well, I lost all of the things I thought were bringing me happiness. And
Mm.
then really got into this dark space and was like, there's got to be something more. And then that's really when this journey was presented to me. And I will say, like, this journey has helped me realize how independent my happiness is from anything outside of me,
Mm.
including people cutting me off in traffic, including people stealing from me, right? Like, this is really a mind opportunity to see you are literally projecting everything that
Mm.
is outside.
Yeah. No, it's so interesting. I've been on a little bit of a journey, and like what I found, I don't know if this resonates with you, Ashley, is when I've done more internal work, sometimes an external thing, yeah, the external world's like changed slightly, and then if there is something that I would have seen as a challenge, like my internal sense reacts to it very differently, and it kind of goes away a lot differently. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've had like been stolen from, but my response to that is completely different, and it's sorted very, very quickly, and it's very calm because of the inner work I've done. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
regular occurrence, or just like
Yeah.
something's gone wrong, but like it happens, challenges come out a lot less. And when they do, it's like, oh, okay, can respond to it. And that's from like the inner work I've done. And it's always an ongoing process, I believe. So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that resonates with you, that the external world changes from what I've done or what you've done.
Yeah. Yeah. It appears to change, right? Because your perception changes. So,
Mm.
like, it's the way in which you witness things, which impacts, that goes into like quantum physics and all that, of how that impacts and manipulates what you are perceiving. And so your internal work is really a shift in your stories, a release of your stories. So then you're seeing it completely different, if that makes sense. You're
Mm,
like completely different perception. And, you know, like think of a child. Children are so good with this. As an example, like if you, a child, say a teacher expects this child to act out and everything else because the parent was like, oh, this kid has ADHD, that's exactly how the child's going to present itself, because the teacher's also going to do small things that kind of set up this scenario to occur. You know what I mean? So like how you perceive the world is how you receive the world.
mm,
So
yeah.
like what you're saying is like the more you have healed yourself, meaning taken the blame out, because the only time we get upset about something is when it's purple or pink hair. Like there's some sort of recognition of something within ourselves that's being activated,
Mm,
right? So you have worked through that. So when someone does something that like that later in life, but you've already worked through that narrative, it doesn't prickle that internal, and you don't want to throw the hot potato at them because you're uncomfortable. Instead, the hot potato no longer exists
mm,
because you've already worked through it, that narrative, and released it. So you don't see a mirror in them anymore.
mm,
You don't see them as attack. You see it as the cry for love it is, and then you meet it with love, meaning, you just don't even acknowledge it, or you truly show up with a place of love, but you no longer see what they're doing to you as attack because there's not a mirror of it within yourself. It doesn't resonate anymore. You're like, what?
mm. Yeah, yeah, certainly experienced. There's a out like an outer world practicality, to deal with some situations. Of course, I always find, you've got to do things, but like the attachment emotionally completely has shifted when I've like worked through certain things. So that sounds like that's a place you're coming from as well, and helping people with that. I
Yeah.
wanted to touch a little bit on your stories, and you kind of went a little bit into it when like you're in this place where you're traveling, you met all these friends, all these opportunities, and then you went into a dark place. Were
Mm-hmm.
there any particular like stories that were like holding you back that you recognize in your journey?
Oh, yeah. I mean, so many stories of, you know, the things that will bring me happiness are outside of me. Even if it's not material items, but the way in which I present to the world, right? So in that moment that you're talking about, when I had, found all these people and my business was doing very well, that was like one of the things was like I was doing super well. I was being used as like a representation of what is possible. So all of these external things I was using to define my internal state of being. But the problem is that can't actually happen because, like you just said, right? Like how your internal state is what you see out in the world. So I was trying to like do the opposite. And my story was the opposite. Like what's outside of me will change my internal, but it didn't. And so
Mm,
that was a story that I had to work through. Hence why I ended up in a dark space because I was so low. I was like, what do I do? Right? Like I did all this out there and it didn't shift my internal state of being the way I thought it would. Momentarily, it did, right? Because every time you get to go on another first class flight or you
mm,
get to go buy something new, you get that dopamine hit, right?
mm,
Dopamine nation here. So I was just living on feeds of dopamine, getting new clients, my bank account getting higher, and like dopamine. And then the second it was gone, I was like, wait, what is this? This wasn't really an internal shift of state of being, but instead like a fleeting something. And then that's when, I went within and really had to start to look at those stories like, oh, I thought my worth is defined by my success. Oh, here's another story of like, if you don't have money, then no one wants to be around you. That like makes you good or bad. If you're not skinny, then that means you're not spiritual. Oh gosh, that was like a huge story I have because there's a huge movement right now of in the new age that like the way your body looks and what you put in it and how often you exercise shows your spirituality. Well, a healthy body is the same as a sick body. Neither body is real to begin with. It's just a projection. But that was a huge narrative I had. So anytime my body shifted, right, because of my perception, I would get like, shameful or like not good enough. All of these different, I mean, there were so many narratives, but I would say, like, if we just take the overarching narrative that was really holding me back then, and I continue to work now, is that there was something outside of myself that was going to fill this void with it.
Mm.
And I was going to test everything, right? That's why, like, we're constantly chasing the carrot. That's why when people set goals of, I'm going to make $1 million in my business this year, that's a very common goal in new businesses. The second you hit it, it's like on to the next, right? It's this never ending hamster wheel.
Mm.
And when I really started to unravel these narratives, one of my questions was, so there's a famous person who does manifesting, right? And she's like huge. I'm not going to say her name, but every year at the beginning of the year, she does a new 21-day manifestation challenge. Pay her money and you can be in the group and you guys will manifest what you want for the year. So my question is, I said to someone, I said, oh, you're going to sign up for that this year, right? Yeah. Did you do it last year? Yeah. Did it work? Yeah. I got blah, 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 blah. And I was like, well, why did you manifest those things? And really ask some questions. And they're like, to bring happiness. And I was like, happiness, like true eternal happiness, is not fleeting. So if it actually worked, why are you taking it again this year? If what you were seeking was going to bring you happiness, why would you ever have to manifest again? Because that should have brought you happiness, right?
Mm.
So manifesting may work, right? But it's just another dopamine hit. It's playing with magic. Magic is not real. Magic in the sense of true reality, which is so much grander than this ego illusion that we believe we're living in. So it was really undoing those narratives of seeing like, oh, this is so much more beyond this moment of time and space, in this moment of time and space, but it's literally outside of time and space, where it doesn't matter what's happening around me. I could literally be here and be smiling and laughing. I mean, think of Gandhi, think of Mother Teresa, think of Buddha, think of images of Jesus. These are all people who realized these concepts, who truly understand that they are awake, not within the dream, but they were literally saying, we are awake outside of the dream. That's why we're so freaking happy, because like we see everything for exactly what it is, which is, has nothing to do outside of you and everything to do within you. So I don't know if that answers your question. I kind
Yeah,
of went off
no,
on a tangent, Johnny.
absolutely. No, it's beautiful, beautiful tangent, if it were anything. So yeah, I love what you're saying about not chasing, and I know who you mean by the 21-day challenge and everything around that. But yeah, like it's an often common one, and I have to call myself out from it, time and time again, many times. But often we're chasing. The big story for you was chasing something outside of you to feel something internally, but what you've done now is come to a place where it's internally available and really like focusing on that, rather than trying to get something for the dopamine hit, for the next amount of money in your bank account or the next achievement or milestone. It's finding something inside of you, which is helping. And I wanted to touch a little bit on now planning as well, because a lot of us are like planning. When linked to that, we're trying to like hit our goals. We're like, got to do this, this, and this to hit that. But I know you're very much kind of like traveling at the moment. You're in a place where you're just seeing where it, like things unfold. So yeah, like how have you been able to release, maybe linked to that, release the need for planning and the illusion of control?
Yeah. I love that, first of all, you said the illusion of control, because it is
Yeah,
an
it's key.
illusion. You
Yeah.
truly do not have control ever. And I think, just so listeners know, yeah, right now I'm traveling, and I don't want you to be like, well, she's traveling. That's easy, right? She can just follow the wind.
Mm.
Well, it just so happens a good year before we left traveling, when I was back home making the majority of my YouTube videos that are out there and working with clients full time. And, I had a full schedule, is what I'm trying to articulate. One January, I woke up and a quote in the course, in A Course in Miracles, that I love is, make this year different by making it the same. That's a huge focus of ours now, but it's something that really resonates in the manner of, the control piece, right? Do I actually have control? And I woke up that year and I threw my to-do list away. And I was the girl that if I did something and it wasn't on my to-do list, I went and wrote it on my to-do list so that I could check it off, right? So you're always, and I had like time blocking was huge in the business program I took. So like if you looked at my calendar, it was like time block for 15 minutes to go eat a snack, work out for 30 minutes, like literally everything almost down to going to the bathroom. Like there wasn't even actually spaces for going to the bathroom. They had to somehow fit in the time blocking. You know, that was a small break from the time block. So I was very structured and very much believed that if I didn't have it written down or if I didn't have it in a schedule, it wasn't going to happen. And I was going to forget about it. And then, you know, like I'm going to lose that client or I'm not going to get this done or, you know, all those narratives of things not getting done. So I threw away my to-do list and really leaned into trust and surrender and prayer and believing that, you know, whatever you believe, your highest self, Buddha, whatever you think is out there guiding you will ensure if I'm meant to do something, it's going to happen. I'm going on almost 2 years of not having a list, of not having a calendar, other than random, like Johnny sent me a calendar invite, right? So he sent it to me, but that's literally all that's on my calendar today. And it has been, first of all, the most freeing experience ever, but it has allowed for so much inspiration, meaning an inspired moment led by spirit to come in. Because I was so rigidly scheduled and so laser focused on what needed to happen and believed I knew what needed to happen, believed I knew what would make me happy, that I started to see over time, like, I've never actually known. I've never actually known what is going to make me happy, what actually brings me happiness in this illusion. I don't actually know what needs to happen. And I promise you, everything that was meant to happen happened. And like, I have no regrets. I don't carry around, feels like a suitcase having your to do list in your calendar. But truly, a healed mind doesn't plan because a healed mind knows that the plan is already in place. Mm. And no matter how much you fight that plan, it's going to happen either way. So why not surrender and free up some space and quit fighting the plan that already is and just see it for the opportunities it brings forward. And so that's really what I've experienced.
So you know what you want and where, like, the things that feel good for you, but you're not planning them in, but you're allowing like intuition to take you forward, like some insights outside of yourself to just, and with inside yourself to kind of take you into what feels right in the day with more of that space created. Is that right?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I really have worked a lot on and continue to work. I mean, all these things are work in progress until you no longer see me here anymore. Like I am still actively doing the work. But the I know mind, I mean, that's one of the biggest things that gets in our way is the I know mind. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier of like, I believe something outside me would fill me. That's your I know mind. Meeting a person that you have met a million times, the way you show up with them, you use your I know mind, you have expectations, you have, you know, all these things. That's why when people go, say, travel or visit somewhere new, they're like, oh my gosh, I fell in love with this place, I have to go back. Most likely, unless you spend a lot of time there, it's because it sparks that spirit within, the inspiration, because you walk in with no preconceived notions. So I say this because I even try to let go of that, Johnny. Like, by no means am I there. I try to let go of the I know mind. And an example recently happened where I used the I know mind and I got slapped in the face and proven that I have no clue what makes me happy. When we were in Bali, I met up with a friend that I wrote a chapter in a book with. Her name is Melissa, and her girlfriend is a tour guide. And so we hired her to take us around for the day. And I was like, I don't want any of the tourist crap. Like, I want to see like how the locals live, blah, blah. And I said, and I absolutely do not want to want to go to one of those Bali swings. Like that's the quintessential. Everybody goes to those Polynesian swings and they put the dress on and they swing. And I was like, do not take us there. Guess where we ended up?
On
We
the
ended up,
swing, of course you did. Yeah.
yes, we ended up at a place that sold cat poop chino, which is like so touristy, right? So gimmicky, touristy. And they had the Polynesian swings, and I had the most magical, amazing time ever because I said to Melissa, I want the day to be inspired. I want you to just follow your guidance within and just allow spirit, like I don't want to tell you where, but I did try to tell where, right? By saying where not to. So I used my no mind, but
Mm.
she, knowing me, listened to her intuition. And I was like, immediately like, oh, thank you so much for that reminder, spirit, that like I tried to bring my no mind in, even though I don't plan, right? I don't plan. That was a moment where I did. I planned what I didn't want to do, and I was proven a different way. But when you really enter the space of not giving any of those parameters, you're amazed at what is there. Like your mind is just so expanded, and not your brain, like the mind, the actual mind, the oneness where the love is contained. You just, I don't know, the connections that come and everything, because you're really just in your truth. You're in the truth. Um, so yeah, no plan, no plan, no plan. And anytime we make a plan now that we're doing this traveling, because when we sold everything, that was our biggest intention. We had really fallen into routines in Tampa, and, had really done a lot of unwinding and shedding. But we were kind of in this stagnant moment. And I think it's because we were still hiding behind routines. And the second we left, like, it was like, here we go. Like, you are going to be faced with everything and anything possible. But that was our intention. Many people go to travel the world to see the world. Patrick and I are traveling the world to go deeper within the mind. So we're not out here intentionally sightseeing or anything. We are literally like, many people would be like, you cannot even call yourself travelers, because there's moments where we go places. We were just in Malaysia and we only left the apartment like twice over 2 weeks, and just really continue to go deeper and deeper within the mind in the healing and what was presented. But that's what it looks like for us. We are on this journey not to see the world, but to remember that in fact, it's not about the world. It's about deeper within us. So
Mm.
yeah, I don't know. That was a lot again.
Coming
You know
back
me,
to
Johnny. You should have known.
coming back to the internal sense. One final thing I just wanted to really touch on, Ashley, today is you used to be this like manic scheduler. You had like your 15-minute slots, and definitely can resonate with that. I think many of us can. You've got like all these slots, like, okay, right, I'm doing that work there, I've got this client there, and I've got that there. Now you're allowing yourself to be guided. Like you said, it's not always perfect. Like your friend had to remind you about not being in the I know mind. For just for clarity for the listener who may be thinking, right, well, I've got like a job, I've got kids, I'm married, I've got these things in the day. How can they get more away from maybe just logically like scheduling things in their day-to-day responsibilities, but also allow some of this intuition and connection?
Yeah. So an invitation that I give a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you can't do that. Like, is you have to build the trust muscle, right? You have to really see this in action
Hmm.
to allow it. And for me, like I said, I saw it. I saw like, I don't think I actually have control. I don't think these lists or this calendar is actually doing anything, because I still miss stuff. Even if it's on there, I still forget stuff. So I would invite you to take something on your list that isn't something you typically just like do all the time. So it's not like an automatic behavior. It's not one of those things that would go and put on my list because I did it, right? But something that there is a possibility you could forget about it, or
Hmm.
you believe you could, right? And that if it doesn't happen, it's not going to cause you to, massive fear, right? Like forget your kids somewhere or, not be able to pay the bills, but something small to start that trust muscle. But the
Mm,
piece of this is, so this is the catchy piece, is that you are not trusting it's going to get done. Because that's you deciding
mm,
already that it needs to get done, right? You're trusting that if it's meant to get done, it'll get done.
mm,
See, that's the catchy point, is that you have to fully surrender to, like, if this doesn't get done, it wasn't meant to. So that's why I say choose something that's not going to rock your world if it doesn't happen, but also can help you to start to build that trust muscle of, like, let's say it was something that week that wasn't meant to happen and you took it off your list and it never happened. You're like, oh my gosh, I listened to that girl on Johnny's podcast. Now what do I do? It didn't happen. Like, I feel like I reiterated my narrative. That's a moment to breathe, give yourself grace, take a step back and see, did the world collapse because it didn't happen? What actually hurt you from it not happening? What actually hurt someone else? Or did it open space? Right? Like, there's been moments where stuff hasn't happened that I thought was going to happen, and I didn't have it on a list. And I ended up spending more time with a friend who was dealing with death. I ended up, you will see the miracles slide in then. And yes, it wasn't that thing, but did you instead get to, snuggle your kid for another 10 minutes? Did something else come in that felt more filling in the heart than getting that thing on the to-do list that literally
mm.
didn't kill you? It didn't, cause World War III because it didn't happen, but instead opened an opportunity that you would have never made space for if that would have still been on your to-do list and you would have felt like you had to do it.
I like that. Building that trust muscle, but not of the huge things like, picking up your kids or having to, pay your bills for the month or something and just suddenly jumping out of something. But it might be something like, I want to earn, a few $1,000s in the next few months so I can go on a trip. But if it doesn't happen, I can do it another time. So it's like that kind of example,
Mm.
maybe.
But even that, Johnny, so you've already created the parameters,
Mm,
right? So, like, you have to, like, even, yes. So I would even just be like, I want to go on this trip. Instead of making a plan of how I'm going to go on this trip, I'm going to trust. Because that's another piece that I got wrapped up in, was like, I thought the only way to pay my bills, and the only way I was held was through money coming in from my business, right? When everything fell apart. Well, I was getting $4,500 worth of rent free because there was an issue with my window, but I never was able to see that for what it was until later when I opened
mm,
my vision to any narrative coming in. So let's say, Johnny, you are so laser focused on that is how that trip happens, right? Even if you say, I'm going to hand it over, you've already decided what you're specifically handing over. You're specifically handing over making a couple $1,000s to be able to go on this trip, right?
mm,
So we said Johnny has to make this $2,000 to go on this trip. Like, there's so many I know
mm,
minds in there. When in fact, what if all of a sudden, like, you're walking outside the supermarket, Johnny, let's say you and I have the same plan. I released all plans and was like, whatever, someone invited me a trip. If it's meant to happen, it's going to happen. Whatever, not thinking about it anymore. Just going to let bygones be bygones. You are like, all right, I took that off my list for me to make $2,000 by the time this trip comes. And so I got to hustle, right? So you're laser focused. Ashley isn't. And I'm like walking along the street. You're like, I got to get home. I got to do some more work. Even though you took it off your list, you're trusting because it's not on your list. Me, I've completely let it out of my mind, even, right? Like, it just is. I see, oh, sign up to win a free trip. And I'm like, Johnny, let's sign up. And you're like, I got to get home, Ashley. I got to go. I sign up. Guess what? I win the freaking trip.
mm.
And it just so happens it's going to the same place I wanted to go with my friends.
Mm,
Johnny has decided he has to get it through making money. See, you could have won a trip. I
mm,
mean, you could or couldn't have, but you didn't even see the opportunity because you had already decided how it's going to happen.
mm. So what you're saying is you've got like the outcome, which is like, ah, the wonderful trip. But in the first example I started with was I was very focused on how the how has to happen. It's like I have to make this amount of money, but it's like even letting go of that I need to earn money to go on this trip. But I've got the
Mm-hmm.
outcome, but I'm letting go of the how completely. Is that right?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's a good start. I mean, the ultimate place is like you let go of the how and the outcome.
Mm,
Like, so when that kid, like I said, when that came in of like, oh, I want to go on this trip, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, okay, let it
yeah.
go, right? No more thought. And the trust and surrender that if I'm meant to go on this trip, it doesn't matter how many times I think about it, it's going to happen. If I'm not meant to go on this trip, it doesn't matter how many times I think about it, it's not going to happen.
Mm. So you know what the outcome is, but you're not so attached to it. You've not got so much like, oh, this outcome must happen. It's like you've got it there, right? It's there. Poof.
Yeah, you just see it, the observer, right? Like
Yeah.
it's really about being in the present moment. Be Here Now by Eckhart Tolle is a beautiful book of being in the present moment. The thing is, the present moment is not a place just to visit. The present moment is the place to be all of the time.
Mm.
So when that thought came in, I played the observer and I let it go. And it may come back 10 minutes later, right? And you let it go again. It may come back again tomorrow. And then you let it go again as the observer. Bring yourself back to the present moment because that trip is 2 months away. And I promise you that it doesn't matter what your plan or goals are, it's not going to impact the outcome of that trip either way.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, really interesting perspective on that. I had one of the mentors I learned from, and I can see similar kind of examples when it's happened in my life, like being presented an opportunity, for example, to go to like Tony Robbins Mastery University when I had no like importance or anything attached to the outcome, and it happened. Found another way to make it happen, just shows. So maybe for the listener, just think of an example in your life when, even if it's a small one, something has shown up in kind of how Ashley was describing some of the ways of the outcome and not being so attached to the how and not being attached to the outcome either. I love that. And
Yeah.
yeah, the mentor I once heard say, um, when I lower the importance a solution presents itself, when we put so much importance to something, that almost creates like a friction sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is interesting.
And the solution isn't always what we think it should
Yeah,
be, right?
that's what you
Like
said. Yeah.
that's that's the other, I mean, there's so many, I'm from the US and 9/11 is really big. There's tons of stories like that out there on 9/11 where people were upset because they thought they were late to work and all this. And look, the outcome was so different. So you never actually know how you going or not going is actually impacting the larger scale, right? And you may never know, but that's where the trust and surrender comes in of the knowingness that it was all divinely aligned and meant to happen in the manner in which it was meant to happen. But there
Oh,
is a lot of removal of stories and stuff to get there. That's why I just invite one thing on your to-do list because that
mm,
will at least start to open yourself to the inspiration that comes. And that is the moments that you feel more connected to your spouse, to your friends, to your family, to, the world, to your children, all of that. Those are the moments that you just feel the wholesome, like deep, deep love and light that radiates from within.
mm. Yeah, I think that's a really great note to end on, in terms of creating more of that trust within us and then letting go of some of those stories like you've done and you're helping people to do, including your Lighthouse Mastermind and people. So, Ashley, I know there's plenty more you could share and you do offer out there in terms of services. So, for the listener, if they want to connect more with you, find out more about your stories and the work you're doing, maybe get involved, where can they find you?
Yeah, so we have a YouTube channel called Everywhere But Nowhere 33. We have an Instagram Everywhere But Nowhere 33. I am on Facebook, which I'm guessing we will be tagged together in this as
Yeah.
well. And I also have my own individual YouTube account called Big Miracle Energy, where I have many videos that it's really, it was created at the beginning of my deeper unwinding. And in giving is receiving and teaching is learning. So I shared and made videos as I was deepening my understanding of some of these concepts. So it's really beautiful if you start at the beginning. It's a whole year-long journey of me deepening my trust and my surrender and unwinding from different stories. And I use some cool ways to relate, like through watching the Kardashians and how we can unwind our mind and heal through watching others. So, yeah, send me a message. I always love, love, love to connect. I'm a connector, and we are currently traveling the world. So wherever you are, we may be in your area, and I would love to grab a coffee, but just reach out and find out where we are in the moment.
Awesome. Wow. Thank you so much, Ashley, for everything you
Thank
shared
you,
and
Johnny.
what you're doing. So that
Yeah.
concludes our episode for today. And remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.